What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today I've got some more 2021 NBA free agency predictions to be talking about with you guys. Again, I originally actually talked about some 10 other free agents, which I did in my first part, which I highly recommend you guys go and check out. You know, I talked about Kawhi Leonard, Tim Hardaway, Kyle Lowry, etc. in that video, so if you haven't already, please go check it out. But again, I did miss some players which I didn't get to cover in that video, which I will be talking about, you know, today in this part 2. So I guess without further ado, let's get started off with the first player. I think I'll actually have, you know, Lou Williams. I think Lou Williams, there's only real two options on what he's going to do. I believe he will either retire, as he's mentioned before, it looks like he really was looking to potentially retire if he got traded. Of course, he decided to give the Hawks another chance, and I think that's paying off. Look how good they're doing in the playoffs. But hey, I think what will happen is, I think just because he is, of course, you know, he's played in Atlanta before, I believe he actually really liked Atlanta, and that's why he decided to give it, you know, another go. I think he'll actually re-sign with the Atlanta Hawks. I don't think he'll retire. I think he'll play one more season. Again, at the time of making this video, the Hawks are still in the playoffs. They're currently playing the Sixers in Game 6, so I don't even know what's going to be potentially happening there. But hey, I think Lou Williams will potentially re-sign. Of course, he's had a very, very good playoff, you know, series for them. Like, if Trae Young was struggling, Lou Williams would come in and help out and add some extra scoring. And seriously, I feel like this guy just doesn't miss. Like, Lou Williams is such an accurate shot creator. It's absolutely insane. And the fact is, he's 34 years of age, which is really crazy, you know, to think about. That even in this season, look, he didn't have as good as a season as last year where he averaged 18 points. But this year on limited minutes, still 11 points, 3 assists on 40% from 3. Pretty decent stats if you ask me. Alright, moving on now, we've got Derrick Rose. I think this is a pretty obvious one. I also think he'll be re-signing with the New York Knicks. Although I do think it will be a little bit of a late re-signing, because we do know New York are really looking to, you know, expand their free agency. You know, they're really trying to get 2 stars. I believe they said it's 1 through signing and 1 through trade, so they'll probably sign DeMar DeRozan and go out and try and trade for like a Damian Lillard or a Karl Anthony Towns. Something, you know, like that will probably happen. And I think this is the first time in a while the New York Knicks have actually been, like, inclined to go out there and sign some free agents. So, again, that's really cool by them. But I think Derrick Rose will be kind of put in the shadows, because, again, they'll be looking to sign all these other dudes. They'll probably forget about Derrick Rose, and he'll kind of be a last priority, considering they hope and expect him to potentially come back. I think he will re-sign with the New York Knicks, but that's not saying, you know, that he won't go out and test the value. I definitely think he'll test his value, you know, potentially on other teams. Of course, some other teams include the Los Angeles Lakers. That's a pretty obvious one. I think he'll definitely look to go there, especially considering Dennis Schroeder, we all know, will potentially be leaving the Lakers. I don't think he'll re-sign. I think it'd be an absolute miracle to kind of see, of course, Dennis Schroeder re-sign. He doesn't like it there. He never wanted to go there. He even took Lakers out of his bio. And so did Kyle Kuzma, funnily enough. But hey, I don't know if Kyle Kuzma's put it back in, but I know Schroeder for sure hasn't. He's not going to be coming back to the Lakers, so they kind of need that scorer / a backup point guard off the bench. I think Derrick Rose would be cool, but I think the Lakers need to focus on primarily getting a playmaker in. I don't think you can be worrying necessarily about a scorer, as I don't think it really worked with Dennis Schroeder, you know, very well at all. I think if you were looking to get a scorer, you'd probably look at getting like a DeMar DeRozan type of guy over a Derrick Rose, because that backup point guard, it just didn't really work that great for the team when they had Schroeder taking the ball off LeBron, or, you know, Caruso got less time with the ball. I think they need that playmaking defender in like Rondo. So again, I don't think Derrick Rose will necessarily go to the Lakers, but I'm saying they'll be interested, and I think he'll definitely test his market to potentially go to a team, you know, like them. But hey, as I said, I do think he will be re-signing with the New York Knicks, so I don't think it's exactly too much of an issue, especially if you're a New York Knicks fan and you're looking at, you know, looking at it from like a New York Knicks, of course, type of standpoint. When we look at number 6 now, you know, on this, or number 3 rather, on the list that I've kind of said right now, we actually have Lonzo Ball. I believe, I've heard a lot of people say different locations where Lonzo Ball will go to. I've heard a lot of you guys comment the New York Knicks. I've heard a lot of you guys say Golden State will be interested. I've heard Boston, Chicago, maybe even OKC, even Miami, Charlotte. He could go team up with his brother LaMelo Ball. I don't think any of these is happening. First of all, before I get into the teams that I want to talk about, I don't think he will be going to the Charlotte Hornets to team up with LaMelo Ball. I think even though they're really, close and him and LaMelo Ball would be kind of cool together, it just wouldn't work. They're basically the exact same player, except LaMelo Ball is so much better. It's not even funny how much better LaMelo Ball is. He's a way better scorer. I think he'll be a better defender in the long run. He's a better playmaker. I think he'll be I don't know if he'll be a better leader. Better rebound. He's better at literally everything except for defense and probably leadership right now. But I think he'll overtake in leadership potentially, and that defense I think will come for him. So again, both those players, you can't have the same two big playmakers on the team together. I don't think it works. I think Rozier and LaMelo work really well because one's a shot creator and one's a playmaker. So I really like that, by the Charlotte Hornets. But then when we look at Lonzo Ball, again, I'm ruling out the Charlotte Hornets. I don't think he'll go there. But where I think the most favorite option for him to go to, I think would be the Chicago Bulls. I think they would be the most perfect team to get Lonzo Ball. And you might be like, well, they already have Kobe White. They've already got a point guard. Why would they go out and get another point guard? That's the thing. Kobe White should not be the starting point guard for this team. If you have watched the Chicago Bulls play, you would know he probably looks to be like a high scorer type of dude off the bench. And I think, what will eventually happen is he'll be moved to the bench. He'll still score the same amount, probably get the same amount of assists and rebounds and, 36% from three that he's been doing. But I just think he'll come off the bench and be the backup point guard / shooting guard. And this team really needs some defense. There is no defense whatsoever. You got Kobe White, Markkanen, Vucevic, and LaVine all in the starting five. None of them are good defenders at all. The best out of all four of them would probably be Kobe White, and he's not renowned to be a good defender. Again, you got Patrick Williams, who's a good defender on that starting five. But you need another dude. I think they'll let Larry Markkanen go, and then of course they'll bring a defensive power forward or just a power forward that's a two-way. Everyone knows that. They'll probably do that. But then I think what they do is they desperately need a playmaker. Zach LaVine's leading in assists. Kobe White is not as good of a playmaker as what everyone's, claims to be. That he is. I don't think he is at all. I think if you bring in Lonzo Ball, you fix two things. Defense and playmaking, which you both don't have. You bring in a really nice defender and a really nice playmaker who will not take shots away from Zach LaVine and Vucevic. If you keep Kobe White in the starting lineup, he will take shots away from LaVine and Vucevic, which I don't think you necessarily want. They should be your primary, two players that will be shooting quite a bit. Then you'll obviously have Williams as a more catch and shoot dude, and I think you'll have a two-way power forward. I just think Lonzo would be so much better in the starting five, but I also believe that Lonzo Ball could potentially be looking at the Boston Celtics, where I think he would also be a really, really good match for that team. I could definitely see him having a pretty good career with Boston, as well as they've already got enough shot creators. Now that they've gotten rid of Kemba Walker, they do have one less shot creator, so now they just got Jaylen Brown and Tatum, but those two are some of the biggest shot creators in the league, so you can't be taking shots away from them. So I think getting Lonzo Ball puts the ball in his hands, but he's not going to take shots away from them. He's just going to be a really good playmaker and defender and will only score when he needs to. I think that's the way. And then, of course, you got Fournier, a catch-and-shoot dude, in there as well. Marcus Smart, who will probably come off the bench, not going to take shots away from anyone. Peyton Pritchard, who will come in and be a shot creator, I think, off the bench. And even Jabari Parker as well. But they're probably not going to be taking much shots off Tatum or Brown either. And then Horford comes, in the team too, and can be a really nice role player. So, yeah, it makes the most amount of sense, I think, for Lonzo to go to the Bulls, but I think the Celtics would be a really good second option for him. Now, next up, we have Norman Powell. I think he will re-sign with the Portland Trail Blazers unless they decide to blow up the team. If they decide to, of course, trade away Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum, which, hey, could potentially, happen eventually. Who even knows? I think he will most likely re-sign though, but if they do decide to blow it up, I think the Knicks will be his top option just because, of course, he would want to go there, because they're a contending team and they will have salary cap. But if they've gotten rid of all their salary cap and brought in a couple of stars and whatnot, he probably won't be able to go there. But a team that's been really interested in him, which I think would be great for him, is, of course, the New Orleans Pelicans, who are really in the market to get a shooter on the team. Because if we look at their starting five, you had Bledsoe at point guard, Lonzo Ball at shooting guard, Brandon Ingram at small forward, Zion Williamson at power forward, and of course, Steven Adams at center. No one there's really like a legitimate catch and shoot dude. Like, Brandon Ingram is of course a catch and shoot dude, but he's more of like that shot creator type of guy, while Lonzo Ball is a playmaker, and Eric Bledsoe, I'd say, is also like a shot creator. His catch and shoot isn't great. He's only 34% from three. Zion Williamson is not a catch and shoot player, neither is Steven Adams. They had no shooting. So basically 2 ways to fix this. Of course, you trade Steven Adams away, etc., etc. I think they bring in Miles Turner. He adds some shooting while keeping some defense and can space the floor and let Zion, of course, have that more spacing. While, of course, I think you try and bring back Lonzo, even though I think he will potentially leave to Chicago. You let Bledsoe walk, and then you bring in Norman Powell. So let's just say they somehow do bring back Lonzo. I don't think he will come back, but let's just say they do. Lonzo at point guard, Powell at shooting guard, Brandon Ingram at small forward, Zion at power forward, and Turner at center. That team is so much better shooting. Norman Powell is a lethal shooter at that shooting guard position, and Miles Turner is a 40 billion time better shooter than what Steven Adams is at that center position. But team spacing gets a lot more better. Plus, I think you can go out and maybe bring some shooters to come off the bench, as well. Like, I think you go out and draft like a Corey Kispert type of dude who is a lethal shooter in the draft that will probably go at like pick 11 or pick 12 or something like that, which is about the pick they have. I believe they've got like pick 8, so you probably reach to get him. But again, you pretty much go from like no shooters in this team whatsoever to bring in Norman Powell. Miles Turner is a good shooter at the center position, maybe like a Corey Kispert, etc. So that's why I think Norman Powell would be good for the Pelicans and improves their team so much. Number 4, pretty standard, Evan Fournier. He'll re-sign with the Celtics. There's not really too much to talk about with this one. I can't see him leaving. I think that it's too promising. How can you turn down to play with, not Steven Adams, rather, Al Horford, Jason Tatum, and Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, etc. A lot of these nice role players. How can you turn, or stars rather, how can you turn down, playing with them? That just doesn't happen at all. They just need to get a point guard, and I think the Celtics team would be set. So again, Fournier will re-sign with them. Number 3, Otto Porter Jr., who is currently playing, or number 6 rather, or whatever. He's currently playing for the Orlando Magic, I believe. He will definitely leave. He's coming off a $28 million contract. I don't think he would necessarily be looking for the bag exactly too much. But where I think he'll probably go is, I think, maybe the Golden State Warriors. Like, they have been extremely interested in him. So I could definitely see, them potentially going out and getting him. I think he adds some nice shooting off the bench. Another backup forward, which they don't really have. Another veteran type dude who I think would just be really nice for them. So there's not really too much to get into, but again, I do think he would be pretty cool to see on the team. Now moving on now, we've got John Collins. I think he'll re-sign with the Hawks. Of course, he wants that max contract. They probably don't want to give him that max contract, but I still think he'll find a way to, of course, potentially be back on this team. I can't see a way where he's not. Again, the only team, there's a couple of teams, again, I think the Cavs could try and offer a deal, especially if they got rid of Kevin Love. He'd be really nice for them. But the only team that I think has like heaps of cap that will be desperate to try and get him will, I think, be OKC. They really need a power forward, I think, for this team. And they have a lot of salary cap now. Again, SGA and Kemba Walker. That's a really nice duo that I'm so excited to watch this season. Lou Dort at that, small forward as well. Of course, their power forward is Darius Bazley. But he's very, very raw. And even though I think he had a really, really good season, in my opinion, his future will be coming off the bench. I don't think he'll be scoring 14 points per game next season, if they were to get like a John Collins, like, and keep SGA fit and healthy, Kemba Walker, etc., and whoever they draft in the draft, they will, have a lot of those type of players that will have a lot more usage rates than I think Bazley will have. So I think Bazley's usage rate might go down a little bit, which means, I don't know, he might still average similar numbers, but I think he'll probably be best to come, off the bench. And those numbers probably weren't like that when SGA was healthy. I believe he was only averaging like 11 points when he was playing with SGA. So again, if you bring in a player like John Collins, who's really, really young for this team, I don't see why you wouldn't do that. And then I think, leading on to kind of my next guy now is actually Jarrett Allen. Now, again, the reason why I'm kind of transitioning from John Collins to Jarrett Allen is because I do believe Jarrett Allen will stay. But like John Collins, I think OKC will offer him a deal, and I think they'll try and get both of them to the team. Because if they can do this, they will have the best young core probably in the NBA, and they will definitely push for playoffs. And they have the cap. Like, if we look at it right now, the only player taking money off this team is, like, Kemba Walker's 33 million or whatever, and SGA is probably, 7 million or something, 6 million. I don't think he's on that much. Then you got Lou Dort, who's basically on the minimum, I believe. Like, he's not on much. Bazley, similar. Ty Jerome, Theo Maledon, Mike Muscala, Isaiah Roby. None of those dudes are making more than 3 million, I believe. Darius Miller will be a free agent as well. He was on 7 million. They probably will have, 60 million to use in this free agency. And then I think what they'll do is they'll offer John Collins a max contract, which he will gladly accept, and he will become an OKC player. And then I think they will try and overpay to get Jarrett Allen, where they'll offer him about 20 to 25 million a year, which is reported that teams will offer him. And if you're the Cavs, do you accept that? I think you do, just because, look, Jarrett Allen's probably not worth 20 million. He's done nothing to really prove it, but he could be like a $20 million worth type of player. For all we know, this dude, a lot of people have been saying this for a long time. He's probably, I don't know if he's a top 10 center yet. I'd say he's probably leaning into there. He's definitely better than players like Steven Adams and that now. But is there potential for him to still be a top 5 center? I definitely feel like there is. Again, he is improving his scoring game and rebounding. I think if he gets more consistent next year, we could see him averaging 14 points, maybe 13 rebounds a game, which is really, really good stats. And then plus being one of the best rim protectors in the league. Whether he's doing that, I hope he's doing that on the Cavs, because I'm a Cavs fan, for those of you who didn't know. But let's just say OKC overpay to get him, and the Cavs just don't match him. Could you imagine that team that the Thunder will be pulling together? They would literally have, a team that looks like Kemba Walker at point guard, who I think will get back to old form now, being a number 2 shot creator on his team. SGA at shooting guard, who will push to be an all-star. Lou Dort at small forward, who's a great defender. John Collins at power forward. Jarrett Allen maybe at center. Well, off the bench, you'd have Ty Jerome, Theo Maledon, Darius Bazley, Mike Muscala, and whoever they go out and draft. Again, this is a really interesting team. They can somehow make this all work. But who even knows what's going to be happening when it does come to that. Moving on now, we've got Kelly Oubre. I think Kelly Oubre re-signs with the Golden State Warriors. I don't know really where else he's going to go. I know he didn't really fit in with the Warriors, but I think he needs to accept that. That's probably going to be his role in the future, is playing that Andre Iguodala role, which just makes a lot of sense for him. So I think he'll accept the role maybe, but he probably still knows if he gets in the right system. He was on a road to maybe being a fringe all-star when he was playing for Phoenix. People forget how good his season was with Phoenix. They were literally coming back in the bubble. They were one of the best teams in the whole entire, kind of bubble type area. They won literally every game. And I believe Kelly Oubre, before the bubble, I can't remember what he did in the bubble, but I know before, he was starting to average 20 points per game and was looking like a literal threat. He was one of the best two-way players in the league. Will he get back to that form of being a near all-star type of player where he averages 20 points per game and being one of the best two-way players in the league? I guess we'll have to kind of wait and see. That season was incredible for him. If the Suns kept him, I think they would be even better than what they are right now, which is crazy to think about. where he goes, I'm not exactly too sure. I still think he'll probably maybe look to re-sign with Golden State, but a part inside of me also thinks that he wants more than that, and if there's a team out there looking for a small forward that will let him do what he wants to do, he will probably go there. But again, what team that would be, I'm not exactly too sure. But anyway, to thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for all the latest NBA news and NBA content and just gaming content, well, not gaming content, sport content rather, in general. I'd very much like to hear all of your thoughts and opinions on this down below. Don't forget to subscribe to, my gaming channel, MIRO/long channels if you haven't already, which I'll link in the description down below. Don't forget to check out my podcast as well if you haven't already, which I will also remember to link in the description down below. But as I was saying, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and comment, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.